What's one win in real estate and in business and or in business that you just want to reflect on that maybe you learned something from that our listeners can gain?
I can't say that there's one win. I think with every interaction and transaction, there's a win. Whether there are times that you don't sell the home that you thought you were going to sell, or you don't sell the business that you thought you were going to sell, and yet there's still a win within that, because if you're not learning, you're never winning, in my opinion. I always choose to have a takeaway from whatever it is that I do. And it's not always a positive takeaway, Sargis. However, once you choose to process that, you make it into what you need it to be, so that you can forge forward and learn how to, work through those things as you move forward. So to me, they're always a win. There's always a win in anything that we do if you choose to make it that. So
It's
I
all about
choose to grow
mindset.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about mindset. You're 100% right. So going into more I guess the technical side of the current day market, I'm sure people have been, ringing your phone just asking what this whole Trump buying back $200 billion in mortgage bonds, what that means for them. So, and also interest rates potentially going down because of that. What do you think is the current market sentiment? What do buyers, whether they're buying their personal homes, or what do investors need to know about today's market that maybe they're just not quite understanding?
It's funny. Everybody always talks about today's market and today's market, and the market has always been the market. There's always been challenges from the Great Depression to today, from COVID to today, and how the market changes. Right. I think that where we sometimes lose sight is, can you afford it? Can you afford that monthly payment? Because people will have credit cards that are 29% in interest and don't think twice about the thing that they want to purchase, and they'll purchase it and pay that 29% back over time and not think twice about that. And yet you see 7% sitting on a mortgage rate, and there's a meltdown. I don't know that I quite understand that. Back in the 80s, people were paying 17 to 20%, and they made it work, right? I mean, we need shelter. What scares me more, what happens in life is we don't always have control over things, right? So what I think is a little more scary is all the prices that are rising outside of home ownership, right? I mean, we have food prices on the rise. We have all of these things, so my approach is always thinking of those things. So if someone's approved for 400,000, well, that doesn't mean you have to buy a home for 400,000. Maybe you buy a home for 350,000, so that you buffered yourself, so that when the food prices go up, you can still eat. So I'm not that person that says, well, tell me what you think about today's market. Respectfully, I please don't take me out of context. I don't mean that towards you, Sargis. What I mean is that I feel as a whole, we're always talking about this market. Well, it's what each individual makes of it, and it's about the affordability of each individual person. And so I think that we sometimes become hyper focused on things that, if you're smart about it, I don't know how much it matters to you, as long as you understand the impact, and that you buffer yourself, and that you put fail safes in place to have success.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it just goes back to mindset. It goes down to, can you afford it, and can you think in a long enough time horizon to see that it makes sense? I mean, Warren Buffett is famous for never selling anything because on a long enough time horizon, it all works out. So you're definitely right. Like when you zoom into the market, it's a bunch of ups and downs. But if you look at it holistically, just like you said yourself, in the 80s, there was interest rates of 15% and somehow people made it work. So that's great insight for anyone who's listening, and anyone who wants to get into real estate. Don't try to time the market, because there's always going to be people who are like, oh, I should have gotten in then. But you could be easily saying the same thing 10 years from now, like, oh, I should have gotten it in 2026. Oh, interest rates were only 7%.